On the 23rd of October 2020, experimental noise and hip-hop trio Clipping released their fourth full-length studio album, Visions of Bodies Being Burned. I am a big fan of Clipping. I've been that for years now at this point. I discovered their self-titled album a couple years back. I think it was 2018 when I first heard it. And it grew to be one of my most instant favorites of all time. I've really kept in touch with what they were releasing since then. I've loved their half-hour concept album. And when I heard that they were dropping a horror-themed full-hour album, I was more than excited, especially since it came oh so suddenly. Like, it was very suddenly announced. When it dropped, it was a shockingly good album. It was super consistent, it was super conceptual, it had a lot of smart ideas laced throughout the entire thing, and above all, it kept that sort of scary, creepy spookiness that not only was prevalent in their previous material, but was further emphasized with this horrorcore theme they were going for. I absolutely loved what they were doing. Imagine my surprise when they announced a sequel to that. Apparently, this was supposed to be a double album, but the label didn't think it was a good idea, and since they already had so much material for it, they decided to split it into two albums. They initially wanted it to release around during a live tour in 2020, which we all know what happens to live tours that year. They decided, hey, why not just release it on Halloween next year, because they released on Halloween last year. I'm very pleasantly surprised that I got a lot of comments from y'all day one. I suggested a bunch of albums, I got a bunch of albums to listen to and get recommended and give a second chance as well, but I figured to start off this series, why not just go with my favorite of all of them, my album of the year for 2020. Their horrorcore, their horror themes, their noisy, scary production that gets under your skin, it is there in spades, and it is their sharpest to date. I absolutely adore all of it. The lead single and first track on this album, Say the Name, if you don't count the intro, is just a perfect example of how good Daveed Diggs' storytelling and lyricism is. There are so many great bars on this track, and so many great lines throughout the entire record. And then when you get to the production of it, you have songs like Make Them Dead, which has taken this screeching noise and just makes it one of the most terrifying tracks yet, where you get some pads and synths lay down in the chorus and it just feels like transcending. And speaking of that, Enlacing, my favorite track on the entire record. It is literally like some sort of Lovecraftian horror. It's like you're going to a club and all of a sudden you're about to get swallowed by a void, and it is done with such power and such great lyrics and such amazing production. It has to be my song of the year, if I'm being completely honest. I've played that so many times. I always grip at the edges of the table when that chorus just strikes in. It is so fucking good. Pain Every Day was a complete surprise too. They turned their great rap formula and noise formula and decided to implement breakcore and drum and bass into it, and they do so much with it. There's so many different drum fills and drum samples just sputtering throughout, and it's overwhelmingly good. Check the Lock, I think, is an underappreciated track. It's got a great bass line on the chorus, and it's a very, very creepy sort of just checking everything and just making sure that you're safe and make sure you're secure when you're about to fucking die. That's the thing too. This album is creepy in so many different ways and directions. It is brilliant. The track Eaten Alive, it's got some weird pots and pans and just improv in the background, and it's like a scattering of different items clashing together while you're trying to escape a labyrinth of a basement. William Hudson and Jonathan Snipes really knocked it out of the park. Way more than they have on previous albums. Even their self-titled album had so many creative ideas, like Story 2 or Get Up. And this album just knocks it out of the park. There are so many amazing tracks on this thing, I can't begin to express it. Tracks like She Bad and Eaten Alive are like tales of monsters lurking for their prey. And their instrumental style during these tracks is a little quiet, but subtly just very, very creepy. They make good use of that. The one thing that has held a lot of clipping albums back for me from the past has been these little final tracks that, while they're great conceptually, they just kind of disrupt the flow of the album. They don't really feel like they're adding to the experience. They are conceptually adding it to it, but musically or sonically, not really much. I can make a great exception for Secret Piece though. It is a very good, very short, and very atmospheric track. A very good way to cap off the album after something as explosive as Enlacing is. It's just a good closer, and it doesn't disrupt the flow of the album at all. It's a perfect way to cap it off. I'm giving this album a 10 out of 10 easily. It's definitely my favorite album to come out this year. I had to start this off with my favorite album of the year. Why not? Yeah, 2020 wasn't a good year. Wasn't a great year for music, but I didn't come out of it without some favorites. And clipping was just phenomenal. Just without a question. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you want me to review next in the comments below. I'll see you in the next episode.